Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Pay It Forward. Today, we're going to talk about choosing the right dental schools. My name is Sameh Solomon. I'm a second year at AADSAS in Arizona. I used to be the ASDA pre-dental director at my school, and I was also one of the ATSU student ambassadors for the interview days. So follow me on Instagram at Dental Lyfe, and on YouTube, subscribe to get the latest updates. And if you like this video, give it a like.
Hi everyone, my name is Fahrin and I'm an incoming D1 at ATSU ASDO. So a little bit about me, I went to UCI for undergrad, which is here in California, and my institution offered two types of public health majors, public health science and public health policy, and I ended up double majoring since public health is my passion. And so the reason why I chose ASDO is because you can get your MPH while you're doing your DMD, and it was a huge factor in deciding which dental school I was going to officially commit to. And yeah, so that's why I wanted to talk about my thought process and choosing what schools to apply to and what school I ended up choosing.
Hi everyone, my name is Merit. I am an incoming D1 at Oregon Health and Science University School of Dentistry. It's known as OHSU. So I went to PSU for my undergrad. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in General Science. And when I was in undergrad, I was shadowing a lot at my future dental school, which is OHSU. I shadowed there for a year, and I got to see a lot of what goes on in the clinic, and I got to see a lot of how faculty works with the students, and that really drew me closer to the school in general. It was my state school, so that's something that was really important to me, is that I stayed closer to home.
So we are here to help you using our personal experience. So this is only a guide, and it's not a guarantee that you'll get into dental school. I highly recommend you to pause for a second and take into consideration if you haven't watched these following videos before proceeding with this video. First prerequisite is the best AADSAS dental application overview. I discussed the application with my friend Sylvia Carr from beginning to end. So it gives you a holistic overview of the application process. The second prerequisite is resources when applying to dental school. This is the first part of choosing the right dental school videos. You are about to watch the second part right now. I would like to direct your attention to the right side of the screen, where I have created a Pay It Forward video series playlist in chronological order. I highly recommend you to view them in this specific order to maximize your time and your chances of getting into dental school this cycle. Best of luck. Please subscribe and give this video a like. Resources when applying to dental school. So again, this slide has been in the previous videos over and over again to kind of deliver the point across that you should not do the application process without the guide of one of these sources. You don't have to use every one of them, but at least use one of them. So you go under my application, click on the program materials. So here you're going to see I only have one school selected, and that school is ATSTEL ASDO in Arizona. And I'm going to go into detail about the process. So the program materials. So make sure that you review each dental school's requirements and supplemental information. Don't get started with the primary without looking at the secondary application information. I'll talk about that in a couple of slides and give you the ins and outs why you should do that. And designate the dental schools you want to receive your AADSAS application. And you must add at least one program to be able to submit your application. After that, you can always add more. So for me personally, I had financial difficulty because again, I had to pay everything at full price because I didn't know about the fee assistance program. And my process is that I paid for one application. I think it was Loma Linda, and that was my original application that I turned in. And then every paycheck, I ended up adding like 2 more programs. So every like 2 weeks, I added two more programs. So if you end up doing it that way, make sure that you look at the deadlines for each program, because that is a key determinant, because you need to kind of prioritize which programs I'm going to apply to first, this week, this month, and so forth. You don't want to leave, let's say, UCSF, which is their deadline when I apply. I still remember it to this day, is October 15th, and I didn't submit the application until October 14th. So by the time I got registered on their end and all that, it was October 15th, and it counted as late. So that was money down the drain for the primary and the secondary application. So I'm teaching you from my own mistakes. So make sure you kind of have a systematic way when you approach picking the dental schools. So before starting your application, be sure to read the application instructions at AADSAS.org/GoDental/apply. So go under the add program. And once you add program, you click add program here, and then you will be able to add the program. And something that they added this year is the filter option. And the filter is amazing because it lets you narrow down which schools you can pick from. And if there's like sister schools like AT Still, there is one in Arizona and there is one in Missouri, or you can pick by state or by country, whether it's in Canada or the US. So kind of narrows down the options and it shows you a list of that state. So that's what I did here. And I ended up picking the California schools. I checkmarked California, and then it popped up here, all of the 6 schools in California. So I ended up checkmarking all of them, and those got added to the program materials. Now I can go back and answer and look at each school's prerequisites. So one thing that I want to share with you guys, once you click on the add program, you click selected programs, and that will show you all the ones that you selected, all the schools that you selected. And then let's say I don't want to go all the way across the country to Missouri and attend our sister school, Mosdo. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that application. And once you click X on there, it will prompt you with this prompt. So delete program. Are you sure you want to delete the program you selected? This will delete the program from your application. So meaning any supporting information you add for that program or any like short answer questions will be deleted and you cannot retrieve it. And as a pro tip, anything that is primary application or secondary application, I would create a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document and have everything listed on there. Anything, type it up on there and save it, because for me, I don't want anything to be gone and I don't want the website to crash, which it rarely does, but I want to have a backup copy of all the stuff that I invested a lot of hours in typing up and creating. So I would say have that as a backup just in case you accidentally delete it or something. All right, so again, back to my application and program materials. So you'll notice here that instead of 1 school, which is ASDO, I ended up adding about 8 schools because those are the ones that I selected. So now these are going to show up here. And the completion bar, it will tell you like how far you are from completing that portion of the application. So for here, I completed the Western U application, so it shows a check mark. So that is why it shows 1 out of 8. So once you end up completing the supporting information for all these programs, you're going to have 8 out of 8. So kind of just a visual indicator to show you your process or your progress in the application. So again, this is the note that I had on the last slide. You just need 1 program to officially submit your application. After that, you can add as many as you want.
Here's an example of the table that I made, and I used the idea guide to make this table. Again, it was a lot more just looking at the stats, having everything compiled, but I didn't know that the Explorer now has an option where you can like bookmark things, so you don't have to go through all the work I went through by making an Excel sheet. But so my thought process was to create an Excel sheet of all the dental schools, and as you can see, I did it by state, average science GPA, average total, just cumulative GPA, average DAT, out-of-state tuition, and then total cost per year. However, since I was in the application process, I did not pay attention to the tuitions as much, because I feel like that's something you can consider when you actually get into dental school. So my thought process was that I'm a beggar in this situation and beggars can't be choosers. However, since I am a California resident, I knew I was going to be applying for most all the California schools. So this table was dominantly for me to see which schools have a high out-of-state acceptance rate. So in regards to the out-of-state acceptance rate, I didn't apply to any school that wasn't 50% or above. Applying, as you guys probably all know, is super expensive, so I didn't want to try for something that I don't have a chance at. The second factor that I looked at was the average GPA and average DAT score. Like Maret was saying, all the averages, these are just a range. So when it came to these stats, I wasn't narrowing down my options completely, even if I felt like I didn't have a chance at that school. To be transparent, I did not have an amazing GPA in undergrad, but I had a fairly decent DAT score. So when I was looking at these statistics, I was also taking it with a grain of salt. What I really did is, if I fell in the range, I went onto the school's website and I started looking for keywords. Again, a little bit about me, my main focus is community service, public health. So I just really needed to look at myself and what I wanted for my dental career, what a school can offer me. And a lot of my PS was based around my extracurricular experiences in nonprofit work and community work. So that's what I was focused on when I was researching these schools. Something that I also did when I went on a school website is I used the command find feature. I would look up words like prevention, public health, community service, outreach, stuff like that. But yeah, just applying things I know about myself, what I wanted from a school, that's how I started to narrow down my options. Yeah, I have applied to 19 schools, but 19 schools really stood out to me in that way. So yeah, I just think the best thing you can do for yourself is don't narrow your options strictly based off of stats. Of course, applying is expensive, so if you really don't think you can get into a school, that's fine. But really look at yourself, and as mentioned in the previous video, as much as the school is trying to accept you, is going to accept you, you also have to accept the school. So really look at yourself and what kind of education you want, because you are going to be paying a lot of money just to apply and attend there.
Basically, just going off of Fahrin said, I did the same thing. I looked at the percentage of out-of-state students for each school, because I only have one dental school in Oregon, so I will pretty much be considered an out-of-state student for the other 65 schools. So it's really important to see that other schools are actually welcoming of me as an applicant. So I knew I think it was somewhere in Georgia or something like that, they did not accept anybody outside of state. So just having that dental school explorer as your guide is really key, because you don't want to put money on something that's not even gonna get you anywhere. I mean, I didn't apply to any Texas schools, but I heard that a lot of other people that applied to Texas schools were really bummed because they do not accept anybody outside. Maybe one person in the class is, it's just crazy how people just drop their money on stuff before even asking. So really make sure that you check that out and be sure that you are also a good fit for the schools. I don't know, I just felt like I fit in with my school based on my experience, but it also required me some research about the school, because as I shadowed there, I only saw the clinic aspect of the school and I didn't see other things. So just researching more about the school and using all the resources that you have, just know what the school is all about. So I found out that OHSU was really big on community service, and I thought that was great because it made me love the school even more. Other schools just did not really highlight that as much, so that just made me eliminate them. So mission statement is a big deal. I think it's way beyond the stats and the averages and all that. You really want to feel like you fit in where you are, and it's going to really get you to where you want to and gets you the training to be a dentist the right way. So when I looked at the mission statement for the schools, I also looked for keywords like Fahrin did. Honestly, I'm not the best writer, so I didn't really know if there should be any like keywords to put in my personal statement. But going through mission statements for other schools made me realize that, oh yeah, that's actually like close to what I am thinking of, or close to what I'm really passionate about. So I may have explained it in words, but I didn't really include that keyword in my personal statement. So I tried to add that if it fits with my personal statement as a whole. So that's also another thing that I thought was really important in my app. So another problem that I had was financials. Like I said, I didn't really know anything about the financial aid program or anything like that. So I was trying to put everything on my credit card, and honestly I maxed out a lot of things. I wanted to apply to 10 schools, but I wanted to focus more on like, or prioritize at least 5, because this is what I could afford by the end of June. So I knew I wanted to apply to OHSU, that's 100%, because I have a really good shot at that. But I also wanted to add other schools just because you never know what's going to happen. So the way I picked the other schools, basically I picked the ones that I fit best in terms of stats and mission statement, of course. My idea about average versus range, I really focused on the range more, because for example, for USC, I didn't meet their PAT average, but I fell into the range for the PAT. So I was like, you know what, I'll just give it a try, and eventually I ended up getting there. So just keep that in mind, and don't really discourage yourself from a school just because you're not at the average or you are lower than the average. Just give it a shot. I know it's worth more money, but you never know. If you're close enough, just don't ruin your chance.
Another thing that I'm pretty sure a lot of people consider is location. Personally, location also fell at the same level as tuition for me when I was choosing dental schools, because becoming a dentist is my dream. So again, I wasn't super picky with the location when I was looking at dental schools. My main thing was, what is the dental school offering me? Like Marette, am I within the range? Maybe didn't meet the average, but am I in the range, and do I maybe have a chance? And that's how I prioritize which dental schools that I'm going to be applying to. And then when I got accepted, I'm like, okay, tuition and location now matter. So it's just more of like I made a priority list in my head.
Going off of what Marette said, what I looked at the most, more than just the average, is the actual range. Because again, these are all like stats and numbers. For me, I didn't have competitive stats. I had good enough stats, but I made sure I shined in everything else to kind of uplift my application. So the range, as long as I fell in that range, I ended up applying to that school. But the key takeaway here is, when you apply, before you submit the application to that specific school, make sure you pick up the phone and give them a call and tell them, these are my stats. How lenient or how flexible is your program to get me into dental school with, let's say, a 15 in math, in QR, on your DAT. So some schools, actually, I think most schools, as far as I know, their cutoff for any DAT score is 15, because again, out of 30, 15, that is literally half of it. That's a failing grade. But that's the kind of like the cutoff for most schools. So for me, working very closely with the ATSU admission as an ambassador and as the preclinical director, I got to talk to a lot of pre-dental students and know their story. And working with the admissions closely, I kind of got to know what they prefer as far as like the best DAT score. So it has come to my knowledge that, for example, if you score badly on the math, it's not the end of the world. I will say it with pride. I ended up getting into ASDO with a 14 in the QR in math. And it's not the end all be all. If I ended up going by the average for all the dental schools, I would have not applied to a single school. And this is how much depressing and how much kind of demotivating the average can be. I ended up going with the range, because let's say I ended up seeing, for example, Mosdo or Midwestern getting in someone that has an average of a 16 or 17 in the chemistry section or whatever. So make sure you go by the range and not the average, because the range is kind of a bracket. Do I fall within that bracket? And whereas the average, it's a singular number. So again, you've probably seen this slide before in previous presentations. You are the center of attention. Make sure you own it, because all the personal statements, all the disadvantage statements, the COVID-19, the letter of recommendation, it's all talking about you as an applicant, and it needs to show for every single program that you apply to. And you are not trying to be cocky or bragging. This is about you comparing yourself to thousands and thousands of other applicants that are applying this specific cycle. So make sure you own it and you put yourself out there. So don't do what I did and apply in September or October, because that's very late in the cycle. I have been very adamant and vocal to all my pre-dental students that I'm advising, and Merit was one of them. So I keep telling them, apply early, early. Like I show in this picture here, the early bird gets the worm. Sit back and ask yourself the following questions. What are my wants and needs? How far away from home am I willing to be? So am I applying in-state or out-of-state? What is my mission and culture? What is your personality? What do you have to offer? And cost is the lowest determining factor for me. Because again, I just want to be in dental school. I don't care how much it costs. Again, talking realistically, after you get accepted to multiple programs, of course, go with the cheaper one. But just as an applicant, Fahrin said, beggars can be choosers, because it's you want to be in dental school. How desperately do you want it? And there's always a price tag to everything. So contact every school, email or phone call. For me, I think phone call is better. What you are trying to achieve as an applicant is to show up on the radar and make sure that you don't make mistakes. So these are the two fundamental goals that you are trying to achieve by contacting every school individually. Be on the radar, meaning email address showing over and over again, and your phone number showing over and over again. So make sure you use professional email address. So don't use like Sniper 3614, because that is very unprofessional. So make sure your email shows up as your first name and your last name, because that is the way to go. Know the school's needs and wants. Get a feel for how admin is. Is admin, when you call or when you email them, are they very adamant about getting back to you, either answering via email or via phone, and how friendly they are? Are they very rude? When you think about it, these are people that you are going to be interacting with for the next 4 years of your life. Do you want to be associated with a school or with admin that is very rude? It will end up rubbing off of. That is not what I want to get out of my 4 years experience at a specific institution. Ask them, community college classes versus university classes. So one of the biggest questions that I get on my Dental Life Instagram blog is anatomy and physiology and labs. Like, which school accepts what, and do they accept any of it online? Do I have to take separate semesters, quarters, this and that? These are questions that I can give you my own personal experience based on the research that I have done, but I can never speak for all 76 schools. It's just impossible, because I don't know that much. So it is your responsibility to do your own homework for that school. So you just have to put in the work, because this is barely the beginning of a career that requires a lot of commitment and a lot of hard work. So good luck and start now. It's that simple. Now, after you sit back and ask yourself all these questions, and after you contact every school and ask them all these questions, ask yourself one more question. Is this program a good fit for me? And am I a good fit for it? Because like I said before, this is a two-way street. You and the dental school need to be compatible with each other. You need to like the dental school as much as they like you, and vice versa. Because think long term. These are 4 years of your life that you are committing to. So make sure that you put the best foot forward, and hopefully that school does the same during the interview. And the interview will give you a feel of what to expect for the next 4 years. So this is something that going off of what Maret said in the previous couple of slides. So make sure you know about Texas, okay? So everything is bigger in Texas, so therefore everything is more expensive. Just it's common sense. But really, so Texas has their own AADSAS portal type. So you still apply through the AADSAS portal, and then you apply again through their own portal, which is called Texas Medical and Dental School Application Service. So this is a double whammy, if you ask me, because there is a separate fee from your AADSAS application fee. There is another fee for your secondary application. For me, from personal experience, probably 3 out of the 19 schools that I applied to the first time were Texas schools. And for me, I was very eager to get into dental school. I was very energetic. And I was like, oh my God, I'm unstoppable. And I'm gonna get into dental school this cycle. I was kind of like, and I didn't do my homework to even like have that level of confidence back then. And I basically hit a brick wall because the day that I sent in my application, 2 days later, I got rejection from all 3 schools from Texas because they only had one person that is accepted out of state. A couple years ago when I was applying for the first time, it was kind of dumb of me to even think that I'm going to be that one person that gets accepted to Texas school. It didn't make sense. What are the odds? But again, math isn't my strongest suit. Make fun of myself. But really though, like I didn't think it all the way through. I didn't know about the secondary application portal that they had because it's extra work. I don't know the reason behind it. There's probably a reason, but it just didn't make sense to me. One of the good things about Texas school is if you're from Texas, overall cost of dental school is cheaper for in-state applicants. If you're in Texas, feel free to apply to Texas. Like I don't see why not. You will get probably the best deal in the country, super cheap. But it's very rare for dental students out of state to get into a Texas dental school. And I can tell you that from personal experiences. So there you have it. So required and recommended courses. So this is a PDF file that you can download from this link, or just look up participating dental schools required and recommended courses in Google and you'll be able to download that. And then here basically shows you every dental school and then all the classes. Let's say we look at ASDO. So they need anatomy, they need microbiology, they need physiology, and that is it. And then here they have like additional notes. So these are basically the questions that people end up like asking me on my Dental Life Instagram blog. Like, does this school accept that class, or what's the requirement for anatomy and physiology? And this document basically sums up everything and it has all your answers. Not a specific person made this. This is something that is officially made by the AADSAS portal. So you can guarantee that it's valid. And for me, I didn't have such a thing. I had to go through all the resources that we talked about and cherry pick all these minor details. So make sure you download that and use it. So I talked about this in the last video where we talked about the letters of recommendation. I'm gonna have a link to it up here. So this is basically courses, science versus non-science. So again, if you go to Google and you look up AADSAS course subjects, Lazion, so Lazion is the portal that AADSAS is a part of, and it basically just gives you a table, what behavioral sciences is, and all the subjects that fall underneath it. It gives you all the classes that are non-science, and it gives you all the subjects that fall underneath that. So make sure that you download that and kind of compare your transcript to this, so that way you know what falls into what category, if it's a science GPA or a non-science GPA. And when you're asking for a letter of recommendations, if you're asking from a science professor or a non-science professor, and so forth. This is a document that my pre-health society at UCR, Go Highlanders, they basically recommended me to use this. So this is AMCAS, which is the equivalent of AADSAS for medical students. And this is basically, you end up entering all your classes, your transcript grade, grade point weight for each class, and the hours for each course, and then how many hours you earned and quality points. And then here you end up check marking this section if it is one of the PCPM, biology, chemistry, physics, or math. That falls under this section. And then here, if you take that course at a community college setting or a university, you check mark this. And then after that, we'll generate a GPA that is non-science, that is science, and it's basically an amazing tool, and it's free. After that, it's going to show a graph. I have a picture of it right here. The graph is going to show you a visual of your GPA during undergrad, whether it's community college or at a UC. And that graph will show you if you had an upward trend or a downward trend or a fluctuating trend. And that's something that will kind of tell you how was your performance during your undergrad. Most dental schools, as far as I know, want that upward trend. And if you have the upward trend, you showed improvement from freshman year until your graduation year. So that's something that I think it speaks to a lot of people to kind of give them a confidence booster. I'm gonna keep it real. C's get degrees. So it's not the end of the world if you got a C. If you got a C minus or even a C, I would just, for reassurance, I would check in with each dental school's admissions and make sure that they are okay with you getting a C in that specific course or a C minus in that specific course. Some courses they will let slide, while others they won't. Mostly the science courses, they want you to repeat that course if you end up getting a C minus. Where if it was, let's say, math or just an elective or whatever, you end up getting a C minus, sometimes they will just kind of like discredit that and just ignore it. It wouldn't be the end of the world. And one thing that I want to share with you during your undergrad experience and throughout dental school, you know what they call the person who graduates lowest in his or her dental school class? They call him a dentist at the end of the day. So it doesn't really matter if you have that low curve, but at the end of the day, make sure that you have a spike and make a comeback with your grades.
I personally got C pluses in all of my OChem classes, but but my OChem score on my DET was my highest score. So like I was trying to show that like, yes, I suffered in undergrad, but I had an upward trend on my transcript, and I proved that it wasn't necessarily the subject that got to me, but maybe it was something that was going on during my life during that time. So just a vote of confidence. I got in. You guys can get in too.
Yeah, I can also add to that because I didn't really necessarily like get a bad grade in OChem, but I literally had a downward trend. So from A to A minus to B plus, like 3 quarters, and then yeah, my OChem was the highest. So I'm pretty sure that got brought up in one of my interviews. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So what I always tell pre-dents that are applying is your GPA is fixed unless you're still taking classes right now. It's fixed. You can't do much about it. And let's say you're taking 1 or 2 classes. These 1 or 2 classes are not going to boost your GPA from a 2.9 to a 3.5. It's just impossible. It's very difficult to bring up your GPA. But what is easier is to dedicate 3 months and study tirelessly for your DET to show dental schools that specific subject that I struggled in during my undergrad, I scored a 25 or a 20 or a 19 on my DET. And trust me when I tell you, dental schools look for that outlier, whether it's a low outlier and how you made up for it, or vice versa. So most likely, if you ended up getting an A in these science classes, when you take the DET, you should be fine within the average. But if you get a low grade, you can always redeem yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. There is always room for redemption, and that is the dental admissions test, the DET. All right, so my personalized dental school selection tables. This is something like what Fahrin created, and I think Meret created something like this as well. So my thought process is I ended up using the AADSAS official guide to dental schools, and that was in the 2017-2018 cycle that I applied. And you're more than welcome to use the same setup that I have here. It's pretty simple to make. I ended up using Microsoft Word. So here I have the abbreviation for each dental school. I have the name. I have whether it's public, private, or PSR. So public is in blue, private is in red, and green right here is PSR. So PSR stands for private state related. I have no idea what that meant, but I ended up just including it for the sake of including it. But most likely I ended up applying to public schools and private schools. So here the ECS, that's the estimated class size, the academic average, the perceptual ability, the total science, the science GPA, and the total GPA, the cumulative GPA. So here I have it by state, and California, again, I applied to all 6 California schools. And what I like about this map, it shows you where every dental school is. So again, I wanted to be a little bit closer to California, so I ended up applying to all the schools in this region. Even if they were out of my league, I still applied to it. I wanted to kind of make sure that I did my part to stay near California, close to family as much as possible. A couple things that I also want to talk about for this table is here I have the name, and this right here is very important. So this date is the deadline for that specific school. So I went to the official guide and I got every deadline that every school had, and I added on there. So that way, when I was applying for dental school in batches, I call it batches, I applied to Loma Linda first, and then my next paycheck, I ended up adding 2 more schools. I went off of these. Let's say Loma Linda wanted their application in by November. This is the school that I'm going to apply for when I have enough money to apply for that school. And that's how I did it. And let's say USC is very patient. Their deadline, let's say, is in February. Then this was kind of like lower in my priority list. So that's how I applied, because I was very tight on money. So there's a system. Just make sure you're not shooting yourself in the foot or chasing your own tail. So here our estimated class size. So here the class size is 76, and the out-of-state applicants. So the reason why I broke this in half is part of it is for the out-of-state applicants. But for California, since that was my in-state, I didn't have any out-state because it's just irrelevant for me. Submitting your application. So you click here under submit your application, and each school is gonna show up here. And then again, depending on how far along you are with the program materials, it's gonna show up here. Depends on how far along you are with your program materials. And the next video that we're gonna be releasing, I'm gonna be talking in depth about every school's program materials, which is basically kind of similar to a supplemental or secondary application. So make sure you tune in a couple of weeks for that video. So let's say you end up finishing program materials for that school, it's gonna show you a full green bar, which means that that school is complete. And the total, after you add so many schools, is gonna end up adding up, and the price tag is very big. Depends on how many schools you want to apply to, but start saving, start doubling up on your jobs like I did and Marit did.
Apply for PAP.
Or apply for PAP and apply early. So there's always a way. And like I said before, you must add at least 1 program to be able to submit your application. After that, you can add as many as you want. So check status. So you click on the check status, and then again, the AADSAS portal ended up pushing the submission date from the beginning of June to the middle of June. So now you are literally able to apply for dental school. So I wish you the best of luck, honestly, and hopefully these videos are helping. If they're helping, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment if you have any questions. And let me know if you want any specific videos. I'll be more than happy to do the research and make these videos for you guys. And under my programs, make sure you end up downloading the PDF file and have that on record. It will come in handy for your interviews, for your residency, for the future. God forbids, if you need to apply a second time, that will come in handy. So this will download it as a PDF file. So again, the PDF file, once you download it, it will look something like this with all your information, and it should be about 30 to 40 pages, depends on how long your application is. And all right, y'all. So as always, best of luck, and remember to pay it forward. So for me, starting this pay it forward mission, I know we talked about applying to dental school and all the resources that you can use. There's no filter that you can select that says people person. This is something that you acquire through time and acquire through things like this, whether it's digitally or in person. And this is something that every dental student needs to learn before going out into practice, because every patient that you end up treating needs to get that positive vibe from you, that you are approachable, generous, and just kind overall. There's no reason to be cutthroat, and it just kindness goes a long way.
So thank you for having me a part of this video. This pay it forward mission really spoke to me because when I started my pre-dental journey, I actually did not have any really guidance or pre-dental friends, and I was following like dental bloggers on Instagram, but I came across Dental Lyfe, saw on one of Sameh's captions, he was like, if you are working on your personal statement, send it my way and I'll read it. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this guy's in dental school and he's gonna take the time to read my personal statement. And I was like, why not? Yeah, he took the time to read it and gave me meaningful feedback. And I was extremely grateful for that and humbled by it too, because I don't have any family members in the medical field or like the healthcare field at all. And just wanting to make sure that I get in the first cycle, I want to be able to do that for someone else too. Like, I'm so thankful for your mentorship, my friends' mentorship, and everyone else that has helped me through this journey. So I want to do my part, because being a first generation, being the first person in my family of going through the healthcare field, it's hard. It's really tough trying to doing your own research and figuring things out. And some of the things I know now, I wish I knew before, and I hope that I can pass that along to as many people that need it or want it. And I'm the type of person who's afraid to ask questions, so I hope that someone out there is like, you know what, I'm gonna ask these questions, like I need to. So I want people to feel encouraged and feel confident to ask those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really want to thank you for just having me be able to do this, because you could have the passion for it, but sometimes you can't really find the right way to do it. And I think having a group of all of us, like incoming D1s or people that have gone through this very recently, is very important, because we can put all of our knowledge and put it all into one thing and actually put it out there for people to help them. So thank you for putting that together. And yeah, I mean, Dental Lyfe has been really helpful for me, because like Fahrin said, like I was going through Instagram, the very first thing was you popping up. I really need help with my personal statements, so wanting people to send you personal statements and wanting to help people. So that's definitely something that spoke to me. I'm very grateful for that. Also, like, I know like it wasn't just a personal statement, it was more like interview, post-interview, like everything after that. I remember applying to Western and I was like very like not sure what to do, and you with your network, you know so many people but you linked me with someone who was actually same as my name. I didn't even know anyone with the same name as me. Yeah, actually, yeah, that worked out perfect. So yeah, thank you so much for making that possible, and hopefully in the future we'll continue with that network, and you know, as dentists, we'll keep giving the community back and paying it forward.
Thank you, ladies, for trusting me and just having confidence in approaching me, because I think when you guys send me your personal statements, it was about a small blog that I released ending my D1 year, where I say like,
Salman here with Dental Lyfe. I just finished the last final of D1 year. I am officially a free man right now. It is hot in Arizona. I can't wait to get out of here, to be honest. I got to move the rest of my stuff to the new place, and I got a 6-hour drive back home to Cali, driving with some friends. And as I promised, whoever sent me their personal statement, I'm going to look over it today, and then I'll message you back with some feedback. Hopefully all of them are positive. And then if you haven't sent me your personal statement, I don't know what you're doing. I'll be more than happy to look at it and give you guys feedback. And again, this is just my humble 2 cents. You can follow it, you cannot follow it. It's completely up to you. I'm just trying to give back to the dental community, especially the pre-dental community. You guys are my inspiration. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, and you guys are how I measure my success.
And during that time last year, I was actually going to Egypt. Just finishing the first year of dental school meant the world to me, that I'm in Egypt, I'm on vacation, I should be enjoying myself, but part of me was just, I need to kind of give back just a little bit. And that was the inception of the concept of pay it forward. I was actually on vacation in Elgona in my hotel room, and I actually watched the movie Pay It Forward, which is like amazing. The movie is based on this amazing book. It was just very rewarding. This book was actually gifted to me for my birthday by one of my Pay It Forward team members, Sylvia, so thank you for that. But this is just the positive energy that this team puts forward for everybody. Thank you guys for joining me today. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. And again, please subscribe for the latest videos, updates, and posts. And give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, let us know. And the contact information for the ladies and myself are at the beginning of this video. So feel free to contact any of us. So thank you, ladies. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
There's so much strength in you and me.